you prepare as thoroughly as you can. The guys play their asses off.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game. Another game.
Listen, we talking about practice. Not a game, not a game, not a game. We talking about practice.
That you probably won't say it again.
I bet I do.
Okay.
Chris?
If you want to crown them, then crown their ass. But they are who we thought they were. And we let them off the hook.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Gather around, Skull Brothers and Sisters. This is Skull Ranch, brought to you by MinnesotaSports.com. I'm your host, Dave. You can follow me on Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook at Skull World. Make sure you subscribe, like, leave a comment. If you subscribe and you leave a comment, you'll be entered to win a Justin Jefferson autographed jersey when I hit 3,000. Make sure you hit like too on your way out the door. All right. We're going to talk about the 53-man roster. And, you know, I always try to be at least a little bit educational, and the Vikings utilizing the reserve list, and we'll talk about that. And you know what? We'll start with that. Here we go. I'm going to talk about how this is the article that's in the 53-man roster on the Vikings.com. There's a link in there that how to utilize the reserve pup list. So we'll talk about that. The Vikings utilize reserve lists on their way, reducing their 2024 roster to 53 players by Tuesday, 3 p.m. Minnesota left tight end T.J. Hawkinson on the reserve, physically unable to perform. The Vikings placed linebacker Jordan Konazic on injured reserve and placed outside linebacker Gabriel Murphy and guard Dalton Reisner on the injured reserve designated return. I think that was the max that you're able to put on, and they can return after 4 games. So that looks like T.J. Hawkinson, Dalton Reisner, Gabriel Murphy are the ones that are probably stand out there. Per NFL policy, teams with players who are categorized as active, physically unable to perform, or active non-football injury or illness must select one of the following options: place a player in reserve physically unable to perform, or reserve non-football injury or illness, whichever is applicable. Terminated or request waivers with the designation of failed physical or non-football injury or illness, whichever is applicable. Request waivers, terminate contract, trade contract, or continue to count the player out on the active list. Hawkinson will not count against the 53-man limit, but is required to sit out the first 4 games of the 2024 season. Each team can designate for return a max of 2 players who are placed on an applicable reserve list during the business day of the final roster reduction. Let's see. Any players who are designated for return count against the team's a maximum of 8 players who designate for return throughout the entire season. Oh yeah, you only can do that 8 times. Teams that make the playoffs are allotted a max of 10 players returning. Okay. Even if those players do not return to practice, any player placed on the reserve pup list before roster reduction is required to miss the entire season. Okay, so if they were put on the list prior to the season, prior to the reductions, they're required to miss the entire season. If you make the playoffs, you're allowed 10 times that you can designate to return. So that's these are some differences. The Vikings weighed the following. Probably one of the guys that, almost made a case for himself. Safety Louis Cine was waived. Now, these are the players that were waived. Big surprise was Kenny Nwangwu, who probably had his best preseason. You'll see how many running backs we kept. We'll talk about that. It's a big surprise for me. I was so off on how many running backs we kept. Cornerback Nashawn Wright, no surprise. Outside linebacker Andre Carter II, I had him being waived, but making the practice squad. Hopefully, no one. He's still a work in progress, but this guy's. I think he's got a future. He showed flashes. He showed pass rush moves and ability, especially late in preseason. So I'm not You know, he is showing ability. Hopefully he stays as a Viking on the practice squad. Outside line, offensive line, Henry Bird, guard Tyrese Robinson. No comment on these. Wide receiver, Lucky Jackson. He shows flashes, but we got a deep receiver core. I'm not shocked there. And you know, he dropped it. He kind of didn't toe tap. He dropped a pass, things like that. Deshaun Jones dropped passes, but made that big play in week 2 of preseason. Thayer Thomas, just nothing there really. He, you know, Appalachian State, not very fast. Doesn't return well in the NFL. There's really I don't see him lasting too much longer in the league, unfortunately. Defensive lineman Jaquelin Roy. I made a big deal about him kind of ghosting me after said he'd appear on my show. He is waived. No coincidence. But Jaquelin Roy, I had hopes for this guy. He showed flashes. I'm sure he's going to be asked to be on the practice squad. I wouldn't doubt that. Linebacker Dallas Gant. I think people gave him a shot in preseason. He didn't make the team. Kind of a fan favorite, Bo Richter, outside linebacker. Definitely going to ask him to back on the practice squad. But yeah, they waived him. I had him making the team. Fool me, I guess. But outside linebacker. The Vikings terminated the contract of the following players: N'Keal Harry. You know, I had high hopes for him last year, be that big wide receiver. He switched him to tight end. You know, maybe a team will look at him. I think somebody will. Cornerback Duke Shelley. That was a shot in the dark, really, making this team. Running back Myles Gaskins. So we waived Kenny Nwangu and we terminated the contract of Myles Gaskins. So when we go through the 53 man, we're going to talk about that. Bobby McCain. When I saw him get cut, I thought, well, geez, Lewis Cines going to make it. Nope. Lewis Cines did not make it. Defensive lineman James Lynch. He was a shot in the dark. Robert Tonyan. What a fall from grace. I even had him like being our week 1 starter because of the way they were talking about him in OTAs. And then he fell off the map, man. Robert Tonyan got a shot, didn't make it. Defensive line Jonah Williams. And Vikings waived the following player with an injury designation: Malik Knowles. Just a deep wide receiver class. No, I'm not really worried here. Vikings left the players in the reserve physically unable to perform list. It was tight end TJ Hawkinson. The Vikings placed the following player in injured reserve: Jordan Konizik. That means he survives as a Viking for now, right? And this same thing happened to a couple players. I think this happened to Tristan Jackson when he was a rookie. The Vikings placed the following players on the injured reserve designated return: Gabriel Murphy and Dalton Reisner. That's important. I had Reisner making the 53, but I guess I really didn't know the extent of his injury. So let's talk about the 53. So reduce the roster to 53 players on Tuesday through a series of moves that began with an initial wave Monday. I like the way they do it now. Instead of like each week they're cutting down players. I think it's more important because they don't play starters anymore in a lot, and they just go with they get to learn a lot more about younger players, so they don't cut until like the last minute, which I think is great. Teams have until Wednesday to claim players who were waived and can also sign up to 16 players for their practice squads. I love this that they have, I think it used to be 8, now it's 16. This is great, and players could last in the league and get a paycheck a lot longer now, especially veterans. Veterans get screwed. They have that the veteran minimum, so why not sign a rookie that's close to the talent? Why go with a veteran if you save money? So at least the veterans can be on practice squads now. Vikings general manager Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah and head coach Kevin O'Connell are scheduled to participate in media availability Thursday. And then here's the first look at the 53-man roster. There's going to be changes. And one of the big changes, I think, is running back, but we'll see. Quarterbacks, Sam Darnold, Nick Mullins, and Jaren Hall. We'll talk about this because I asked somebody, hey, when's the last time we kept 3 quarterbacks? Happens a lot more than you probably remember. It's kind of one of those Mandela effects. You think we keep 3 quarterbacks all the time. Now, it says here the Vikings opted to place 3 quarterbacks on the 53-man roster for the second consecutive season after initially rostering 2 every year from 2019 to 22. It happened all the time. Now we did it 2 years in a row. It didn't happen all the time. We only kept 2, and now that we kept 3 in a row, or 2 years in a row, is the difference. He can address the emergency QB and play out if injuries occurred to Darnold and Mullins without counting against the maximum of players active for a game. So yeah, he can. He doesn't have to pull him up to 53. He's already on the 53, and then he doesn't have to add an extra player. To have him as the emergency QB. So I guess that's a strategy. Running backs, initial 53, Aaron Jones and Ty Chandler. Kenny didn't make the team, man. And neither did in here, I thought, well, if we let all our running backs go, Myles Gaskins and Kenny Nwangu, well, Dwayne McBride make the team? Mo Ibrahim? No, they got cut too. So you lost Dwayne McBride, Mo Ibrahim, Kenny Nwangu, Myles Gaskins. I thought Gaskins or Nwangu would for sure make the initial 53. They didn't. Terminated Jones, Chandler are poised to form a 1-2 punch. Or terminated was Myles Gaskins. 1-2 punch poses threats on the ground through the air. Jones and I like the running back situation. I just thought, considering how many running backs we got hurt, how many QBs we got hurt last year, I thought we'd keep more running backs on the 53. I don't want, I liked Gaskins. He looked all right, man. And then I liked, McBride even looked decent, but Kenny Nwangu looked pretty good, man. I don't know. Hopefully we keep both those guys. The initial 53, CJ Ham at fullback. Was he 31 now? I don't know. The Duluth native's back for another go, adding the dimension of the offense as well as significant impacts on special teams. Last season also helped with pass protection on third downs. I wish our regular running back could help on third downs. I think that's Aaron Jones now, though. Initial 53, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Jalen Naylor, Brandon Powell, Tristan Jackson, Trent Sherfield Sr. are our receivers. So, hey, I think Matt Collar was right. We kept 6 wide receivers. Brandon Powell, they got him listed 4th here. Tristan Jackson 5th. So I guess special teams wins the day. We keep 6. A lot of these guys play special teams. So Justin Wave, Justin Hall, Lucky Jackson, Jashawn Jones, Thayer Thomas. The guy I would like on the practice squad for sure is probably Jashawn Jones. He showed me flashes. Lucky did too. Now, waived injured, Malik Knowles. And it says the Vikings built a deep receiver room. The player behind Jefferson Addison made multiple plays in preseason games. Tight ends, Josh Oliver, Johnny Munt, Nick Muse. We only kept 3 this year. TJ Hawkinson must miss 4 games. He's on the physical unable to perform list. Waived Neil Johnson, Samis Reyes, and then contract terminated N'Keal Harry and Robert Tonyan. Offensive line on the initial 53: Christian Darrisaw, Blake Brandel, Garrett Bradbury, Ed Ingram, Brian O'Neill, David Quisenberry, Walter Rouse, Dan Feeney, and Michael Juergens. These are not shocks. I'd forget who I had off. It was either Rouse or Juergens, but I called Feeney because he's the only guy that can play center, I guess. Maybe. At least listed as center. And then Dalton Reisner I had on there, so I wasn't too far off. Waived Matt Cindric, Chuck Foligia, Doug Nestor and Spencer Rowland, Henry Bird and Tyrese Robinson were waived. Injured reserve Dalton Reisner. They're right up. Minnesota was able to blend versatility, experience, and youthfulness for the depth in the offensive line group. The plan was for Reisner to compete with Brandon Ingram for one of the starting guard spots, but the veteran has been banged up. Good to have him as a backup, though. for when he comes back. Defensive line on the initial 53, Jonathan Bullard, Harrison Phillips, Jerry Tillery, Levi Drake Rodriguez, Jalen Redmond, and Taki Tiamani. Taki Tiamani, I know people were raving about him. I just didn't get to personally see enough of him, so I didn't have him. And Jalen Redmond is a shot in the dark. I had no idea. Now, the rest are pretty normal. Drake Rodriguez, probably my Mr. Mankato if it's not Naylor or Tristan Jackson. He just stepped up, made the team. Wave Tyler Manoa, contract terminated. James Lynch and Jonah Williams. Jaquelin Roy was a shocker. I thought he'd make the team this year, or he'd take a step forward, but he didn't. Outside linebackers, initial 53, Jonathan Greenard, Andrew Van Ginkel, Pat Jones, Dallas Turner, and Jihad Ward. Jihad Ward was probably the fifth guy that surprised me. I was thinking we would go, the surprise guy, Bo Richter, but we didn't. So Owen Porter, Andre Carter, and Bo Richter all showed flashes during preseason at some point. They don't make the team. Injured reserve, Gabriel Murphy, they're right up. Greenard and Van Ginkel were two of Minnesota's first signees during free agency. Jones repeatedly made plays and showed versatility in training camp. Turner flashes immediately in the NFL debut, and Ward adds size at the edge position with some added versatility. I guess that's the reason for Ward. Inside linebackers are probably our thinnest group. Blake Cashman and Ivan Pace Jr. at the top. Then you got Kamu Krieger Hill and Brian Asamoah II. Asamoah makes the team, hangs on. Wave Dallas Gant, Jordan Konizik. I don't know how to say his name. Here's the write-up. Pace is built of an impressive rookie season as former undrafted free agent. Cashman and Kruger Hill added years of experience to the group. Here's the cornerbacks on the initial 53. Stephon Gilmore, Byron Murphy Jr., Shaq Griffin, Caleb Evans. There's all these people talking about he was on the bubble. I didn't think so. Fabian Moreau is a guy I didn't expect. Dwight McGlothern. Then you got Wave, Jalen Williams, Nashawn Wright, AJ Green III, Duke Shelley. I thought we were keeping 5. We kept 6, it looks like. Contract. The Vikings cornerbacks room has experienced quite a makeover this offseason with signing of Griffin in spring and camp additions of Moreau and Gilmore. McGlothern continued to make an impact throughout the preseason, garnering a roster spot as an undrafted free agent. Okay, safeties, initial 53, Harrison Smith, Cameron Bynum, Joshua Metellus, Theo Jackson, and Jay Ward. Waived. Lewis Seen, whatever's going to happen to him, we don't know. Doesn't look good for the top of that first and second round pick of the 2022 draft. You still got Ed Ingram there, but the standouts are probably Jalen Naylor and Ty Chandler. There were 6 and 7 or 5th and 6th in the draft. So it's not the worst draft we've ever had. Smith, Bynum, and Metellus each started all 17 games for Minnesota in 2023. Jackson contributed when his number was called. Ward worked some at cornerback during the camp and likely to be core special teamer. The Vikings opted to go with 6 cornerbacks and 5 safeties this year instead of rostering 6 safeties, as was seen in 2023. On the 53, long snapper Andrew DePaulo, kicker Will Reichert, and punter Ryan Wright. DePaula is back again after another consistent camp. Wright won a punting battle and will serve as the holder for Reichert, who has been impressive in the NFL offseason. So, not a whole lot of big shockers. We kind of expected some of these, and people were actually rooting for some of them. I was kind of disappointed not to see Lewis Seen make the team. I'd rather go with youth and find, speed and ability that just hasn't shined through yet. He showed flashes this preseason. I was hoping for that. Jaquelin Roy, I kind of had high hopes going into the season. Disappointed that he didn't make the team, but hey, if a guy's better, play him. The couple of the standout outside linebacker, undrafted free agents I was hoping for. McGlothern, great. Levi Drake Hernandez, great that these two guys made the team. That's two Two guys you don't expect to be as big impact players as they were in the preseason. So I was pretty excited about, Kwesi finding more diamonds in the rough. Hopefully a Bo Richter is another guy that eventually stands out. Andre the Carter, also another guy that'll still continue to develop. So that undrafted free agent thing Kwesi's got going is great. My biggest surprise is probably the running back only keeping 2 and a fullback. I think that changes. I don't know. We'll find out. Keeping 3 quarterbacks. I didn't realize how it was not a big normal thing for us. Kind of the Mandela effect. You thought that we kept 3 quarterbacks all the time. Actually, we didn't do it very much until the last 2 years. So, hey, that's everything. Tell me what you think. What's your biggest surprises? Put it in the comments. Make sure you do. If you are subscribed, like the comments, be entered to win a Justin Jefferson autographed jersey, and then cue the music.
You prepare as thoroughly as you can. The guys play their asses off.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game. Another game.
Listen, we talking about practice. Not a game, not a game, not a game. We talking about practice.
That you probably won't say it again.
I bet I do.
Okay.
Chris?
If you want to crown them, then crown their ass. But they are who we thought they were. And we let them off the hook.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.